go. So the trailer for the new live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender show has just been released a couple of days ago at the time of filming this, and I just wanted to come on here to say, screw that. Nobody cares. Go off yourself. Let's talk about what truly matters, and that is the new Avatar series that takes place with the Earth Avatar after Korra. I had some ideas for what I think could be really cool ideas for the next series. I have a couple of points that I want to talk about in this video, and spoilers for Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, specifically the Legend of Korra and the comic books Turf Wars and Ruins of the Empire. Also, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hayes, and let's get right into this video. Book 1, The Next Avatar. So I want to start off by saying I love the pattern that the previous recent avatars have taken with the male and female pattern, so I want to continue that. So obviously the next avatar is going to be an earthbender, and I have some really cool ideas for what I imagine his personality could be like. I'm imagining a very chill, laid-back, hippie-like avatar. Now in the Legend of Korra comics, Turf Wars, there's this gang called the Creeping Crystals, who I imagine could be either the parents or the grandparents of the next avatar who moved from Republic City to move for a better life. And with that, I wanted to have an avatar that utilizes Earth in a way that we really haven't seen all that much from the previous series. I've always wanted to see earthbenders use crystals more often in their attacks. So I'm just imagining the new earthbending avatar specializes in crystals and glass. This avatar might be very attuned to vibrations and hearing abilities. Kind of imagine some of the scenes with Toph where it focuses in on her hearing, but not necessarily a blind avatar. He could be able to feel the vibrations within the crystals, which is kind of why he feels attracted to them in the first place. Having a gemstone collection, being very attuned to music, especially with his hearing abilities. Loves meditating, using sound bowls, listening and enjoying nature. He could be an artist type who's very in tune with the crafting nature. Loves to play around physically with his art, crafting things like glassworks and vases, glass blowing, or could even go into mosaics and things like that. Even creating crystalline structures with gemstones. The way he could help be very humanitarian in a way. Kind of imagine Adam Eve from Invincible being on the groundwork, kind of being with the people. He could use glass bending to create glasses for people, creating musical instruments, or wind chimes through metal bending. I imagine him to be a very nature, plant-loving kind of guy, so I can see him using special ways of earthbending to be able to fertilize the ground to boost plant life. I also love the pattern of avatars in recent memories. Aang being a peacemaker in time of war, Korra being a fighter in time of peace. The new avatar could be a spiritual hippie in the times of modern technology and spiritual decline. And despite the contrary to what you might think, he could be very much in tune with airbending. Airbending can come very natural to him, the air nomad life being very meditative, very fun-loving, free-flowing. I can just imagine that earth and air come very naturally to him, while his weaker element could be fire. Because his personality is so chill and fun-loving and stable, I can imagine it takes a lot for him to blow up and to get that fiery, passionate nature. Book 2, the overall tone. So for the overall tone of this story, I wanted to move along and grow with its audience while also still having that goofy charm to it. It could really delve into the darker, more mature themes of Avatar, including things like drugs, cursing, and blood. Now, I don't mean adult animation level cursing, blood, that kind of thing. Like the overtly goriness, the excessive cursing for no reason. No, I'm not talking about that. I mean just naturally slipping those themes and ideas into things in which it makes sense for the story and the characters. Like, you cannot convince me that Korra wouldn't be cursing. Even some of the moments in season 2 where she gets scratched up, you could have just like little specks of blood just flying out when the attack hits. And also, I just can imagine the new avatar being a stoner. Now, as much as I love each season of The Legend of Korra having a different villain and a new conflict every season, I just hope that this new series has the ability to have the full story from start to finish fleshed out and to be able to have those creative liberties that the creators need. Book 3, Setting and World Building. Now, rumor has it that the next series is going to take place in a more modernized cyberpunk setting. Now, I don't feel like I mind that as much as other people do. Now, me personally, I would love to see a cyberpunk setting within the Avatar universe, but I kind of imagine that for the firebending Avatar after the Earth Avatar. Now, I can see them utilizing the popularity of the 80s and the cyberpunk setting congruently, and I love the idea of each Avatar series taking place in a different kind of time period, giving each series its own unique identity. So I just have to put faith in the creators that they're going to be able to do this concept well. Now, a lot of the ideas that I have for the new Avatar comes from The Legend of Korra, the comics and everything, obviously because, a lot of the new Avatar is going to build off the previous one. Now, of course, one of the biggest things that we'll probably see is advancements in technology and seeing how non-benders can utilize technology to equalize the playing field with benders. Now, cyberpunk settings can lead to stories about political power, the people suffering versus the elite, open surveillance states, artificial intelligence, and disruption of information and propaganda. Now, the protagonists of these stories usually follow the people who exist outside of the wealthy and the elite, which could lend credibility to my idea of the Avatar being a descendant of the Creeping Crystals gang. Something I'd love to see is how industrialization and modernization of technology and metal bending affect the Fire Nation. One of the biggest mistakes I think with The Legend of Korra is them not touching really at all on the Fire Nation, and I think that this new series could take advantage of that and show just how advanced, because the thing about it is, as metal was already one of the materials that the Fire Nation used on a regular basis. They're already pretty skilled with it considering the fact that they can't metal bend, and are already culturally entwined with it. So I can just imagine that metal bending plus the Fire Nation can be a really good combination. Now, a thing in the Avatar universe, a pattern that we've all noticed, is that the previous Avatar's biggest mistake is often fixed by the next Avatar in the cycle. So I imagine that one of the biggest things that the next Avatar is going to face is having to reconnect with the previous lives. I imagine that we're also going to see returning faces from The Legend of Korra, including Aang's grandkids, Asami, Mako, Bolin, and their possible descendants that can help raise the new Avatar. There's also this canon book that Korra wrote to the next Avatar, unsure if they'll ever be able to have that connection to their previous lives, detailing her life, being the Avatar, and the lessons and mistakes that she's learned over the years. I would love to see a scene of those books being delivered to the next Avatar through someone like Asami, who could have been told through Korra to make sure that she hand delivers them to the next Avatar specifically. And lastly, how does the new Avatar feel about being disconnected from the previous lives? Book 4, Bending and Fighting. So obviously, I can imagine bending being more modernized. Just like with The Legend of Korra, how modern styles of fighting involved quick jabs and blows and being very light on your feet, very MMA style. I can see that being pushed even more in the new series. It could be very interesting seeing bending being used in more non-combative everyday scenarios. Kinda like with Su Yin in the Metal Clan, using metal bending to create art, performances, dancing. I can see the Air Nation using dance moves and incorporating that into their bending. Their style is already very free-flowing and dance-like in general. I can just see that being modernized. We'll definitely see more bending being used and conducted through weaponry, like in The Legend of Korra. We can see things like guns, lightning rods, more elemental gloves like earthquake gloves, daggers and swords made from lava bending, or even plasma, sound bombs made from air bending, and even electric whips. We could even see adjustments in clothing for bending, kind of like what the air nomads did in season 4 of Legend of Korra by adding these gliding wings to their costumes, like heating units for Fire Nation clothing whenever they enter the water tribes, conductive clothing for lightning redirection, laser-eyed glasses and contact lenses, or even some metal adornments that can be shaped and used like projectiles like hairpins. You can see bending being used for everyday civilian purposes. Kind of imagine like lasers used for hospital settings within the Fire Nation, or even using water bending to keep blood flowing in the body. An ability that isn't talked about nearly as much as it really needs to be is the airbending ability to produce and create shockwaves and sound waves. This is explored a little bit in the Dawn of Yang Chen, where it's explained in times of great inner turmoil that Yang Chen went into the sea, creating powerful shockwaves and blasts with her airbending through screaming, which could also be used to deafen opponents on a battlefield. And I can even imagine a less violent ability that the Avatar would be able to use is the ability to create like a siren song of sorts. Because he's a little bit more of a pacifist, and he already has this ability that he can hear really well and is very attracted to sound and vibration. I can see him using this ability through singing or hitting certain frequencies that can lull opponents down or block their chi without touching them. We also see in real life how advancements in technology and medicine has allowed the human body to extend its own life force. I can imagine this being done even more so in the Avatar universe, especially because we already have precedent with that, with earthbenders using their bending to elongate their lifespans. Book 5, Villains and Conflicts. With the cyberpunk setting, we can take tropes that I mentioned before, including the political affairs, advancements in technology and weaponry, like imagine an artificial intelligence villain. We can do that through the typical robotic, cybernetic aesthetic, or through unconventional means like the Tech Angel in End of Evangelion, that can take control and manipulate technology. This would especially be horrible for a cyberpunk setting that would probably rely so much on electricity and technology. I can also imagine a 1984 surveillance state kind of threat. The Fire Nation, out of fear of retaliation from the rest of the nations, seeks to defend themselves. We can get followers of the Red Lotus who still believe in Zahir's ideology. Technology advancing means we could also see more technology like the Colossus at the end of Season 4 of Legend of Korra, or even some of the more tech robots that we see at the beginning of Season 1. We also have spirit bind weaponry, which the use of spirit world energy can be a great conflict in and of itself, or the spirits in human conflict that can come as a result of so many people being able to go into and out of the spirit portals. Maybe we could get a conflict which, as a result of the spiritual decline and reliance on technology and modernization, we can get less and less people being benders or being born as benders. Kind of like how the Earth Nation is generally the people with the least amount of benders in their arsenal, compared to air nomads who have every single person born under the Air Nation generally being born as an air nomad as a result of their spirituality and attunement to the spiritual world. And because of that, the Earth Nation, who was the least spiritual of the group, have the least amount of benders. I think this can be a very interesting thing that we can see in the next Avatar series, where we have less and less people being born as benders, and this moral panic and cultural panic of where we can get more people to be born as benders, and getting this idea where the Avatar needs to come in and bring the people back to spirituality. More about how the Avatar fits in with modern times, and if the advancements in technology lead to the Avatar's jobs and duties becoming obsolete. In the Legend of Korra Turf Wars, we see the area around the spirit portal being fought over in terms of who has the right to that property and who can make the spirit world a commodity. In Ruins of the Empire, we see new brainwashing technology being used in the Earth Kingdom, inspired by the Dai Li agents. And as a result, you can have the Avatar fighting their own gang who's brainwashed. This has been explored a little bit in the Avatar The Last Airbender series, and a little bit in the Legend of Korra comics, but I do hope that this is explored a little bit more in the official TV series and really hones in on this dilemma that the Avatar has to have about fighting their own people. But yeah, that's pretty much the majority of the ideas that I have right now that I have written down. I just love the Avatar series so much. There's so much world building, there's so much plot and things that you can expand on, new power sets that you can use. It's just such an interesting show that I'm so glad that the Avatar studios and creators are able to have a space where they're able to have more creative freedom over the project that they're making, because obviously they know what they're doing, right? Yeah, to be honest, I'm just more excited about the animated stuff that we have to look forward to in the near future. I just really don't think that the Avatar series really works best when being adapted into live action. Just in general, I just don't think that the Avatar series is really one of those things that's meant to be translated into live action. Like, I think so much of the charm and idea of the series works so much better in animated form. But yes, that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any other ideas that I might have missed, or things that you have that you can, incorporate into the story, let me know down in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.